This is TVA Pandemic, a podcast about new human issues brought to you by darkcozy.com.
Yeah, I don't mind that thing. It's like, just make other movies and you can have what other Wonder Woman. I mean, have the Wonder Woman and have different. I don't mind any of that stuff. You don't think they need to.
And I think they're embracing that because
they're making the Batman, right? With Robert Pattinson. That's just a different.
They got Ultimate Batman. Plus, it looks like they've got a reboot Superman movie coming, which I'm kind of excited about. Like, have you heard? You've heard about the JJ Abrams
and Ta-Nehisi Coates one? Yeah, that one. That one's really cool because there's a Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote Captain America series that I read and it was really good. Also Black Panther before that. But he was also the inspiration for, because he wrote that, on reparations of that essay that inspired David Lindelof to do Watchmen. The way he did,
which is awesome. Plus the whole idea that
I think he was a consultant on Watchmen too that season.
They're saying this is going to be a black Superman.
And that's what they're talking about.
Which is what Michael B. Jordan pitched that time. So if they got Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. And I was watching that with, that would be funny. Like two Human Torches both take on different roles. Like one becomes Captain America, one becomes Superman, which is
it's like the minor leagues. Like, you got to play the torch.
Yeah.
In the big leagues, the superhero movies, you got to play the torch.
Yeah. It's like the different character, but they both go into the Boy Scout role. But like they were talking about, because I watched that, Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin. He's a writer. They do that Fat Man Beyond, but he's not fat anymore. Kevin Smith, but like it's the one because he has all his podcasts, but this is the one they do on YouTube like this, and they just talk about, it's like the superhero show. They talk about nerd stuff, but they were just talking about that and just about because Mark Bernardin's black. He was like, but he was talking about. He's like, hey, let's talk about like. That brings up, obviously it's cool and obviously like it's culturally interesting, but because they're asking him, should they change everything or nothing? Just that's the only thing they change. If that's the only thing they change, it could be fascinating because you have a really cool Superman dynamic. This thing is always about like he could kill everybody and take over, but he doesn't. It's like, that's not the point of this, is that. So what do you do when he not only is he different and trying to hide it, but what if he can't hide that he's different? What if he's getting raised in Kansas in the 60s and his parents are white? You're like, that brings up so much. And these kids are bullying him and being racist and beating him.
And he has to hold back.
Yeah, that's
think of like what Superman. That could be a really awesome Superman because there is like, I don't think you could just do it and be agnostic to it.
No, you
have the story.
You have to take it on.
But you wouldn't want the story to fundamentally change because you still want Superman to become that person who is the beacon of hope.
But that's why that becomes
who is a good person that rises above that kind of stuff. But in a world it's funny, like you get these guys who are like, well, I want to see Superman in the modern world. It's like, well, you should do Black Superman because that would be the way to tell that story where Superman is ostracized for that belief in decency when you don't have everybody just embracing you. You have people turning on you.
Right.
Even some people as Superman. Right. They turn on you because of the way you look. And you still have to be this sort of champion of goodness and decency in that world. That's Superman in the modern world. That could be awesome.
Right. Not in a dumb like BVS way, which is like they have a statue of him and there's people protesting for no reason. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they're like, he's Jesus and we hate him.
And he's a false god. I was like, what? It's like, it doesn't make
really established anything. Yeah.
But I do like the idea that's like, what do you do in a case of like these people actually have preferences for that, and what do you do with like it's just the same way they brought that up because when you have Luke Cage as a character in that show, it's like what happens when a young black man's bulletproof? That's a different thing, you know what I mean? In this world of like in our modern like situation going on, it's like
that's a good model for it because Luke Cage was that good guy. He wasn't Superman like he had a little bit more edge to him, but he was still that good guy. Right. That was fighting for the right things. And even Luke Cage, they didn't necessarily have it because that was his neighborhood. He didn't much venture outside of it. We still didn't see that. But if you really want to analyze a world like a Superman story where like the problems of the world are greater than Superman could solve. Like racism is perfect. Like that's a perfect social situation where Superman would get involved and would be involved, but he still couldn't fix that.
Right.
Like he would have to live with the knowledge that this is a bigger problem than a Superman can solve. And that would be really interesting.
Right. And like, yeah, that's like still saving these people despite all that. So that's what's so interesting. That's Superman's thing. It's like his battle. Like when you wanted to have that vision perspective, you know, he's like, it's a privilege to be among them. That's what he says in the Ultron. Like that's what you want Superman to be. That's what he is, you know. And to get to that perspective, having gone through that stuff, that's even more of a powerful Superman.
Because if you want him to be that Jesus figure, you don't just show where people randomly worship him when he goes into non-white countries and they just like bow down and worship him. What you show is that he loves everybody. Everybody does not love him. Right. That's the Jesus thing.
Yeah, I mean, like,
if you want to see Superman as that savior figure, that's the problem with Superman.
That's literally the Jesus thing. Is like they killed him.
You have to learn how to be kind to the cruel. Right. That's the ultimate test of character for anybody in morality. Is how do you exercise kindness even to the cruel?
Because your main goal is still to save everybody, to save these people. Yeah, like not to
The whole idea where people are like, well, why don't you just kill Lex Luthor? It's like in Superman's mind. He sees Lex Luthor and he sees that brilliant mind. And in his mind, he thinks, what if you could get him working for humanity?
Right.
What if you could make that mind work for humanity? What if you could turn him around? Wouldn't that be even better than a Superman? And what if that was true of everybody? Anybody bad? Look at the resources. This guy built a robot to smash the city. What if we got him on cancer? I can't cure it.
Right.
In his mind, every human being has that potential for good, and everything they do, that's a difficult character to write. That's what Superman is. That's why you should watch All-Star Superman. Yeah. That's basically what All-Star Superman is about. It's getting Lex Luthor to see the world through Superman's eyes so he understands how necessary it is to do good and why Superman does good. And that's story.
That's where they fall off the mark. I mean, not to harp. I mean, that's where Zack Snyder falls off the mark, because it's like their primary conflict was that people are gonna like he's getting pushed for people to like. Superman has his values because of his parents or the people that, you know what I mean? Like a lot of that, part of that is, and for your parents to be the one that are pushing you away from humanity, like Jonathan Kent doesn't, it's like, this doesn't make any sense at all. Like,
it wasn't a bad premise, but it was a bad execution, because Jonathan Kent was afraid that if he exposed himself too much, that he could somehow be hurt. He was trying to protect them. He wasn't trying to tell him, don't help people, like pull away from humanity, but he didn't know how to handle that. There was a good way to write that story. They just
didn't pay it off. And it doesn't become it's not the thematic conclusion. You're like, the thematic conclusion is that he just has to punch. Like, there's no thematic conclusion to that movie.
Well, he just never does. Yeah, and in Man of Steel and BVS and ostensibly what we've seen of Justice League, his arc is never to learn, well, I probably should fight for humanity, because even the whole crux of this whole thing that they were building into, who knows what the Snyder Cut is going to be now, but what they were building into was this idea that he focused all of his love of humanity into one person, and when she's killed, then he just goes nuts. It's like, well, then that's not an arc at all. That doesn't show how he overcame that fear that people would reject him or learn to love humanity, or in any of the bullshit that Russell Crowe says in that first movie. He's like, well, if you like one of them, then help them out. And if that goes south, then fuck it.
Right. That's
the nihilistic view of BVS.
Right. Well, and that's what I mean. Again, it's all around the board. It's tone and everything. I mean, it's just bad storytelling. But like, Superman is literally. I mean, again, we've seen it with Captain America, and the way also we tell that modern story is that you have, just like what they did with Winter Soldier, you have that person become disillusioned with the compromises other people make. Sure. Right.
And you have personal conflicts that come into play. They play that really well. So it's not that Superman can't have personal conflicts. That's what the first movie centered on at the ending, was his personal relationships and how he had to break from what he was told. But I think Mr. Sunday Movies was talking about that. They're like, but every time he goes and talks to these elders from Krypton, they just say, stay out of it. Don't do anything. It's like, but your planet exploded because of that philosophy.
They're always
don't listen to them.
Even including even to the new show we'll talk about that, the new show that's on Superman and Lois. Kryptonians are assholes. They're always just come up as being assholes.
They don't know.
Like,
well, what I think the new show, like we'll let's try to ease into talking about the new show since you brought it up, and it also plays into some of these Snyder Cut concepts.
You watched the 2 episodes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I watched the latest episode today, so I'm up to speed on the subversion of this sort of Snyderverse idea of Superman. But what I like about that, especially in this new episode, you get that hologram of Jor-El, who's like Robert the Bruce from Braveheart,
right?
And he's like, he has no powers, whatever.
I forget him. It's like he's my son, though. It's like
what? Yeah, there's no hope of him carrying on the Kryptonian line. It's like, but you have to understand that in every version of the Superman, like from the movie to the new movie to this show to Smallville, they did it too. It's always him talking to an AI construct that's made to look like it. They should come off as cold. Like, you shouldn't take all of your advice from these guys because they're not people.
It's just a computer. Yeah.
It's just a computer. In some versions of the comic, it turns out to be Brainiac. In some versions of the comic, it turns out to be the Eradicator, which is just this Kryptonian-minded computer that wants to annihilate anything non-Kryptonian, which is basically everything since Krypton is gone. So you got to factor that in, Superman. You can't take advice from these. It looks like your Kryptonian dad, but it's not. It's at best, it's going to be a recording that's just repeating the same bad advice over and over. And at worst, it's just a bot.
Right.
So you gotta take your own counsel on this kind of stuff.
I'll talk about the show. I like it, but like that wasn't a funny moment. The whole episode when they go to the fortress and he's like. And he puts the crystal in thing. He's like, so what is this? He's like, it's like a hologram or something. He's like, it's like an experience. And then it's like, no, it just plays a hologram for like 20 minutes. It's just like, it starts, I'm waiting for it to like be like some VR thing or something. And it's just like, and then it plays it. And then it comes back to them later like, and that was the history and it blew up. And you see the thing go away and you're like smiling. I was like, that was it. I was like, he's like, why don't you? It's like the 1:30-minute. He's got like the orientation video, and they're like, "That was it." I was like, "You only watch that so many times for you."
I like how he calls them hologramps.
Yeah,
that was clever. I really like the show. I thought the pilot was really strong, and
the pilot was like a fresh. I mean, again, you know me, Superman.
I just got emotional when I saw Superman appear. I'm like, it really is him.
The first moment he does that. He goes, nice costume, but thanks, my mom made it. And he's off. I was like,
the Golden Age tights, nice touch. I loved that.
Like, my mom made it. His attitude, I was like, thank God. I was like, I'm so tired of emo Superman. And I think I saw him. I never watched all Supergirl, but I saw episodes with him in it. And I didn't think he was that bad, but I hated that costume. The weird, real
weird
Superman
belt that he had. Yeah, the redesign is great. And he's either bulked up or they've given him some padding. When they did that Crisis on Infinite Earths, as Clark, he looks really small. I actually like it because he looks really different as Superman because he's so bulked up.
He's really big.
But they did that Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he's standing next to Brian Routh as Superman, and he just looks stupid. It's like, dude, you shouldn't put him in a room with Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh looks amazing. Or whatever, and he's so bulked up. You don't notice it when he dresses up like Superman. He's a gravitas.
And I think the way they did him in Supergirl, they didn't bulk him up when he was in the suit, so I always looked tiny too. I'm like, what is this Superman? And I I mean, I don't need to be a beefcake, but like, he was fine. They didn't really. I think
they learned from that experience though, because he does look a lot beefier as Superman now, and it works. It works.
And I don't necessarily. I'm still warming up to her as a Lois. She's
fine. They got her, I think. She's sort of reminiscent of a Margot Kidder type.
I don't have enough experience. I didn't watch all the runs. I haven't got the Crisis Infinite. I've never watched that, so I haven't caught
Not really good. I guess it's worth watching.
But I immediately like him. He's a great Clark. He does great. I think
he's a great Superman.
Yeah,
and they've always they've always done that sensibility that he's very classical kind of Superman in the way that he acts, and it works really well. And what I love about them is I was worried about this because the CW shows don't tend to have great writing. Like they get kind of cheeky, and they had the two sons, and I'm like, are they going to become the comic relief that's always making pop culture kind of references? And because that character always shows up in every Arrowverse show eventually, and it's really tiresome as a trope. But
a lot of sidekick kind of
yeah, but I think they've done a really good job.
It feels made it more cinematic.
It feels like its own thing.
It feels like
universe.
Friday Night Lights and Superman. That's what it feels sort of like.
And that's what you want. It feels like a spiritual sequel to Smallville, because obviously we've brought the show back to center in Smallville, and a lot of the themes that they had to play with in the original Smallville show, because in Smallville it was the Luthors who moved into Smallville and revitalized the industry when the town was dying. And in this, it's Morgan Edge, but it's the same thing. It's like we're the heartland, and they're dying. They need jobs, and you have these industrialists who don't care, who are going to come in promising to save the town, and they're just going to bleed it dry, reverse mortgages and all this great stuff. And so not only is Superman just Superman, and not only are they concerned with how to raise these two kids, one or both or neither may end up having superpowers, but they also have to save Smallville from a very human threat. And that's where Lois comes into it, because she's I was
going to say, if they stay on that theme of that, it also is very contemporary. It's like it's about rural America and the people in rural America, like how it's like
how they lose hope and they find false.
I mean, it's a liberal versus a conservative sort of thing too. Like they're very but not like there's a fight, but just like a common ground being found between them in this town. Like, because they're the New York people.
She comes in saying, well, they're bad people. It's like, well, it's easy to say that. They're like, you can just quit your job or whatever. Like,
I said that too. He had a good point. She's like, well, he has low wages. He's like, low is better than nothing, though.
Yeah.
People don't have jobs. Like, why don't I making $10 now? Like, so.
Yeah, I think can't afford to unionize at this point. The two sides of the argument are really being represented pretty well.
Obviously, that guy's a bad guy, but
Morgan Edge is a bad guy, but everyone else is pretty
their
nuanced.
Perspective is pretty good. So hopefully they maintain that. Hopefully, they don't just okay, now that brother-in-law guy. Oh, he's not brother-in-law. They're just friends. Does Lana know that he's Superman?
I guess not, because she's like, you never age. Like, hey. Zip it up, Lana. Come on.
I think the kids are great.
In high school, where you used to save people every week. It's like, come on, sheesh.
Well, the kids so far
wear glasses.
The kids so far are doing the thing too. They're not. This is a new thing we're showing, having the Ted Lasso. It's the Downton Abbey thing, which is I'll give Downton Abbey credit for. It's where you see melodrama coming and you reverse. You ever seen that show Yellowstone, that Kevin Costner show on?
I never watched.
The show is wild with melodrama. Every moment, there's a kid in that show, and there's a river 100 yards away. That kid's gonna fall in that river. Wait, here comes, boom, he's in the river. The people. Any moment for melodrama or something dramatic happening that's fake, it happens. But I always say the Downton Abbey and Ted Lasso is like that. This year, it's like where you think a character is gonna kind of turn into being crappy, they're trying to be better. It's characters trying to be better, and those brothers are like that. They don't actually hate each other.
I like those kids.
I know. They're really refreshingly love each other.
And I love that.
You know what I mean?
When the rebirth thing happened in DC not that long ago, they had this great – let me see if I can recap the comic book stuff because it got wild for a while. But
New 52 stuff?
After the New 52, but let's say take it back to the 90s when they rebooted Superman and they went through the death of Superman kind of – and that run went through Superman marrying Lois Lane and all this kind of stuff. And eventually they rebooted that stuff. And eventually after Flashpoint, the whole DC universe rebooted into the New 52.
Right.
And then when that ran its course, they did the rebirth where they kind of had this idea that they wanted to bring back that 90s Superman.
Right.
So they sort of reintroduced the 90s Superman and Lois had kind of survived when that universe died and were living in the New 52 universe clandestinely because they knew there was a Lois and a Superman already.
Right.
And they were just kind of laying low.
Right.
And then conveniently the Superman and the Lois of the New 52 universe both died. So Superman and Lois just kind of stepped up and well, there's an opening. And they became the actual Superman and Lois, and I was like, that's so much fun because those are the ones that I read when I was younger.
Right.
And what was also fun about that was they also had a son together, and his name was Jonathan, and he became the Superboy. And this TV show is sort of pulling from that, where they do have a son named Jonathan, but they're twins. So there's like one Jordan who's named after Jor-El.
They said that sounds like Jordan. I said, oh yeah, I guess his name is Jordan.
All right, yeah, Jordan.
But it also kind of goes back into the Moses sort of thing, which is
it's fun.
Yeah.
And I really like that concept. And they're doing a good job with those kids playing them off of each other. And that was the X factor for me going in. It's like, are those kids going to make this show unwatchable?
And that girl,
they don't.
His romancing, pretend to like she's
sure. She's the new Lana, yeah. She's Lana in Smallville. Lana had a boyfriend who was a football player who'd beat him up.
I think the
football team was named the Crows in the Smallville.
The football team kid. I mean, the football team brother. He's good, but the one they got, you don't notice it at first, but he's got a really good. That kid's a good actor, like the moody one, the one that has. Powers.
Well, you can tell he's going to be the focus, but I'm sure there's some storylines that are going to, because they haven't revealed all either one of those kids can do. So, and
I like how they keep it. They're not going for melodrama, but they kept. I mean, so far we're only going through 2 episodes, but. I like how the first episode, he's like, well, I don't have powers. That's fine. That means I can play football and stuff. He's like, but even in this one, you could see where he's like, that sucks. You get to go fly off with that. It's like there's a little bit of, but it's not, they're not going to be.
But they stay together on it. Yeah. I like how they build those relationships with those characters. And I like that way you can see these are Superman's kids.
But you see what I'm saying?
The good values.
But there's a difference in how you present a show. If a show's about melodrama, then it's like, well, what can be so intriguing this week? Whereas like Friday Night Lights wasn't about that. Friday Night Lights was probably, but it's like, it's about these people trying to be better people and be a better family.
And with the CW, usually those CW shows are written for 14-year-old girls. So they play to the Flash, there's a 22 episode run per season. So there's going to be about 10 episodes where everybody's keeping a secret from everybody for no reason. And
why are you just telling
keeps them against each other?
That's what I don't want to see. But so far it's been, although they started, the only element, I mentioned this earlier, the only element, I didn't think so in the first episode, but they had a couple lines and now they're really digging into it. Looks like from a plot standpoint is the dad being like, because he said in the first one, he was like, he married Superman. I was like, why are you such an ass, dude? I was like, why do you have this opinion that he can obviously just be anywhere in 2 seconds? And they kind of, then I got a little more worried this episode because it's like he doesn't come within 2 seconds. He's like, takes another second to get there. And he's like, where's Superman?
Where's Superman?
Give him a second. It's like the thing. He's going to space, and he's kind of just give him a second.
Did you ever think your electronic thingy isn't instantaneous? What do you think about that?
But it's like that sort of annoying. That's the only annoyance, or is like a little rough rubbing against him. Like, I hope that he doesn't become
I imagine there'll be some drama there.
But
I hope he doesn't become an antagonist. I imagine there'll be some drama there, especially.
Drama, but I get melodramas when it doesn't make sense. I don't like him just being an ass because he's like, but he's like everything. He's been antagonistic with him and stuff in these 2 episodes.
I do like that they're pulling in this Luthor because this goes back to like the Crisis on Infinite Earths sort of comic, where the idea that there's an alternate world where all of the superheroes are evil. Right. And all the villains are good. And Luthor is the hero of that world. And he fights an evil Superman. And that it's Ultraman. But in this, it's just evil Superman because that's easier. And I love it because it's like, it really is addressing that sort of Snyder version of it. Like, well, what if there was a world where Superman were evil? It's like, that'd be terrible. But that's not the world we live in.
Well, but it also does it for a purpose, though. That's why the Superman comes here and doing that. Or that's why Lex comes here and that Lex is coming here and doing that. And the Snyder thing is just like, isn't this weird?
Yeah,
I guess this is weird.
Won't that mess with people pretty good?
Like, isn't it a weird scene? It's like, because I would love that scene if there was any logic to it. I was like, so they have like Superman police and like, what is? But he's dreaming this. What message is supposed to be in his dream? Like we're I don't want to get into. We're encouraging his nightmares, or that's what it's supposed to be. The good thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's more interesting the way they're playing with it, and I like that idea that Superman will have to sort of deal with a person who is ultimately good, but he sees Superman as the ultimate problem.
I mean, Jared Leto as the Joker, now that's a nightmare. I'm glad that he's I was like, oh no, not this one. But yeah, I just those couple of lines, those are the only melodramatic moments where he's like, you married Superman. You didn't. I was like, get this guy. Like, he's such an like. It's just. I was like, because and then this one he had a problem with him being from the city to not. It's like it doesn't matter where he is.
Yeah,
he can go through the earth. And, like,
just as close to anywhere. That's the thing. Like maybe he's not answering your little clicky because there's a volcano going on.
His man cave was in the North Pole. It's like he can go anywhere he wants to go
in seconds. Yeah, he can take someone there.
Yeah,
in no time at all. Like we just went to the North Pole today and hung out and came back. And that was like, it wasn't like we spent all day flying.
He's like, and he still goes to a friend's barbecue after that. He's not even tired. He's fine.
Yeah,
like,
come on. Step up off me.
I like how they're pretty casual about it. I like how she's like, that's the also place where it could go bad, but it's not. Where it's like, and I don't think they will because she has that attitude. That's where she's not like, oh my God, because it sounds pretty serious. And the guy stabbed him with kryptonite. And I'm sure he probably told her the details. He didn't say, and he's just like, oh, did you find him yet? This one, she just has like a glass of wine waiting for him. She's like, how'd it go with the thing? He's like, oh, I'm getting closer. That's all it says. Like, and he goes off and it's like world-ending stuff happening. And he's like stopping a spaceship from crashing into the city. And he's like, it's getting easier. I'm getting there.
Well, I do like, too, that the focus of the show, I said it was a spiritual sequel to Smallville, but it also takes from Lois and Clark because the concept of the Lois and Clark show was that the focus of the show was not him being Superman. The focus of the show was their relationship. So he was Clark through most of the show, and he was developing his relationship with Lois. He was also Superman, and that factored into the show.
Right.
And that's sort of the way they're playing this. It's like we've said before, Superman should be a TV show because when he's a TV show, you can't spend money on all this blowing up planet kind of bullshit. So you just have to come up with character-based stories.
Mechanical spiders and stuff.
Yeah, you get rid of all that stuff and you get to see what life is like for Superman, doing Superman stuff and then trying to live a regular life, like his character.
Yeah, because it's also, I mean, they're sort of digging into a little bit of this, but it's, and they're hinting at it, but it's one of the unexplored things. It's like he should be the ultimate workaholic. Because if you had those, I mean, it's like great power comes great responsibility, but Spider-Man has to sleep and he has to like, Superman, like at any moment, he's like, there's like 30 people dying right now.
Yeah. If I never came home, how many
more I'll watch an episode of Arrested Development with you. Sure, child. It's like, or these people are dying in the straight, like you'll never be home,
I like this version because this is an older Superman. They've been together for a while. They have kids that are almost grown and all that. This is a Superman that sort of made his peace with that. Like nobody could be Superman 24/7 because you just go crazy.
And she's made her peace with that too. Like she just doesn't worry about them in the same way. Like that's why I sort of like their casualness. Like they feel like
I gotta be Superman, but I know I also have to be human because in order to be Superman, I also have to be human. So I remember the stakes.
But she's also the one encouraging him to be Superman too, because she's the one that's fighting against the dad. Yeah. She's like, no, you have to do this. Like, you can't just abandon everybody. Like you have to do this. Like.
That's like her dad seems to be the one that doesn't get it. It's like the balance is what's necessary. Like he wants him to be Clark if he's married to his daughter, but he's like, but you're too important as Superman. You have to be Superman. It's like, but I have to be both if I can be either.
Yeah, like he wants him to be Superman, just be like circling the globe at all hours, just doing things. Like he can't do that. He still does have to sleep and have to be. He has a human psyche, like he's not a.
And
robot.
I need to have that human psyche. Right. If I became a computer and just started going around trying to fix all wrongs, I would lose the sense of what it takes to know what those wrongs are. But that's sort of like in the radio show when he first lands in the radio drama, like back in the 40s or whatever. When he's like full grown when he comes to Earth, and like the first thing he does that they just skipped it, and they're like he just shows up.
He's in the diaper, but the
first thing he does is just find somebody that's like, I don't know my way around here. I need somebody who can tell me what's going on, like how to help and who deserves help. Like I need to learn who I'm supposed to interfere with in the human condition. And the way to do that is to build human relationships. And that's still the crux of Superman. Everyone is like, I don't understand why Superman has to just have a regular human job or whatever. It's like, well, how's he supposed to, like when you say Jimmy Olsen's not important to the mythos, how's he supposed to understand the stakes if he has no human friends?
Jimmy Olsen's his best friend.
Yeah.
I was like, now let's have a little fun with him. Let's just kill him in his throat.
I don't see why we need a Jimmy Olsen. He's already got a girl he wants to get laid with. It's like, well, that's not the same thing as understanding humanity.
His place in the humanity. It would be really helpful if we had a best friend to talk to, a la what's it, Sam Wilson, Captain America. Like, that's what Sam Wilson does. Like, Sam Wilson, he meets Sam Wilson gradually, but he goes back and talks to him at that support group because he connects with them, and he's like, okay, this is my place in this thing. It's the same damn story. It's like, guys,
they just did it. Yeah, they just did it well. And that's what drives you nuts. Like, how do you explain humanity to people who don't understand it?
Right.
Like, that's what you guys think, that Superman's not a human story, so you're approaching it from another angle, or you think the human story is much darker than it really is. You're like, this is going to be a really human story, then he needs to swear and have sex with girls and kill people. Like, what kind of life do you live? That's not, well, 2 out of 3 is, but definitely not killing people. It's not normal to the human experience.
Yeah, it's just a different sort of storytelling. It's like, and it's like, to me, again, it's a Walking Dead thing. Turmoil is not intrinsically interesting to watch. Consequences of that turmoil are interesting to watch. Like, so I want him to overreact and do things, and that's the case. And then he overreacts, does something else, and he tries to correct that. Like, that's what Breaking Bad is. That's what anything is. That's what any story is. Just
watching him learn and grow. Yeah,
that's what Zack Snyder. That's what 300 is. It's all about action. It's burning the boats. He's like, no, we're doing this. He kicks the guy down the thing. It's like, that's a reaction you want.
Those are his characters. Yeah, they always have. What? For what? Well, either. Oh, well, they'd be in that thing if I've got them. Yeah. Sorry.
A bus full of kids going over the river. You have to say, hold on one second.
Yeah.
That's him podcasting. Superman.
You got to split.
It's okay, right, I'm back.
Yeah, you got to stop every now and then to define the stakes.
Well, you can tell they love the characters. I just love, because one, the connection, they have to sever it right away with his parents and his mom.
Oh my God, it's heartbreaking. Especially, that hit me pretty hard right now, especially. But
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's horrible. But they do a smart thing of having the conversation with the mom before that to establish. That got me like in tears. It's just like, you're a vulnerable man that likes the loving person. Like, oh my God, this. And the moment he hears that thing, he just boom. I was like,
and they bank on the fact that we're already aware of that relationship. We know Superman's past. It's like this becomes a spiritual sequel to like every Superman story because we've seen all that before. So it starts from a place where we already get, like, they show us really quickly that his dad died when he was younger and how that affected him. And so they open the story with his mother dying. They don't have to do a lot to establish their importance to him because we've seen that story.
When I like what they did too, because they sort of did it with. Maybe if I did watch it again recently. They don't really hammer this home as hard as much, but he explicitly says this in the show that he said, "I thought I'd live here forever, but then my dad died, and then I started feeling that discontent of what he's supposed to do, like." That's an impetus. And
then he goes to the thing, starts the Fortress of Solitude. That draws very heavily off of.
But I like that idea that it's like because he feels like he should be doing. Like, the point of that is that this is a waste, or this is a thing that I need to, help you. Like, and that's literally the first Superman. They don't actually say it. They're a little more artful. And the first Superman, but when I was a kid, I'm like, why is he going there? Why is he? I never understood when I was a kid. I was like, why is he at the North Pole? I was like, what's he doing? That's like,
yeah, they started escalating pretty quickly. But the whole idea there is like sort of two-pronged, because his idea is like, I have all these powers and I couldn't save him. Like, that's one side of it. So you learn there's something Superman can't stop. And then on the other hand, you're like, but I do have powers, so there are so many things that I can stop. So I'm responsible for trying. There are human tragedies that I can prevent, and I have these powers. Like, again, the MCU just nailed it. Like, they have Spider-Man. Like, when you can do what I do and you don't, and bad things happen, they happen because of you. It's they used to do Spider-Man better in one line than in the last 2 movies prior to that.
Because that's what you need, but that's also But see that's what, and not again, that's why Marvel does so well, because those teams aren't about teams. Iron Man being with him and being like his father thing is not about. It's about like a North Star at that point. That's what Superman needs when his dad dies. He doesn't know he has that, but he doesn't know why. You need a direction, and you need some and the whole point of the Avengers together, and that's literally what they're all arguing about. It's like that's what the difference between the Batman, they're like killing people and like, I don't want to save people, and I don't want to kill more people. And then in Civil War, they're going, how best can we save people?
How would you save the most people?
How do we prevent the most people from dying? It's like, no, I don't think we could save more people that way. I think we could save more people this way. So their team, them being on a team, is not about them just having fun with each other. It's literally they're each other's North Star, and the debate is about the responsibility of that.
How to do it. Yeah. Where do they begin? Where do they end? Like, where do we go too far? Like Tony is such a perfect example, because Tony always goes too far immediately. He always just unilaterally decides this is the best thing to do for everything. And he does it based on snap judgments. If I feel bad and guilty, then I'm going to immediately jump into a noble action that I think is going to reverse that guilt.
Well, that's why the Superman, to me, and like you love Superman too, like it's always that's what people say it's not interesting, but that's what's so interesting. Other heroes don't have to worry about it. Daredevil doesn't have that guilt. He's like, he's blind, he only do so much. It's like
and
you're the most powerful being in this thing, you could take over the world. You could literally take over the earth.
Well, and that's the whole thing. If you cut to what they're doing in the show, I'm sure if you cut to that evil Superman, his whole idea was exactly that. Well, I decided
it's like Homelander, right?
Would be I'll just conquer the earth, because these people can't be left in charge of anything.
Right. It's like, why would I do that? It's like obvious.
Yeah, there may be some resistance, and I may have to kill some people at first, but that's nothing compared to the number of people I'll save. That's always the dictator argument.
They don't do that as much. That's why it's funny. I mean, maybe there's comics that do that more, where they just take over. Like there's that Brandon Sanderson, that author, like he has like those 3 books that are like about people having superpowers, and something happens in the earth one day, and there's like a star in the sky, and certain people start developing certain superpowers. But that's immediately what happens is they just start, it's a turf war. And then 5 years later, the whole world is run by these little gang, like superheroes. There's no government anymore. It's superheroes that run.
That's what happens in Kingdom Come. Yeah. In Kingdom Come, the new generation of heroes, they all just start fighting each other because they lose sight of trying to help people, and they're all just getting into, like you see in superhero movies, where they're just wrecking towns, getting into fights with each other, and they don't really have another purpose besides just beating whoever their archenemy is. And people just get caught in the way, and there's all this collateral damage, and they're like, well, whatever. And that in that comic started with, I think the main bad guy's name was Magog, and at some point they're taking the Joker to jail, and he just shows up outside the courthouse and just kills the Joker. He's like, enough of that. This is how we do things now. Exactly what everybody in modern superhero movies thinks, oh, that's what they should do. Like, no, it's exactly where everything goes wrong, because then everything just becomes anarchy of these superpowered beings just doing whatever they feel like. And only a handful of the original heroes are left, mostly playing in the background to try to mitigate the damage that they're doing.
I mean, to his credit, that's sort of what Snyder's sort of trying to do with that nightmare scene. But it's an actual, like, it doesn't make any sense because it gets so stylized. It's like, oh. And
it's also unearned, because you keep saying, what happens when Superman, who is so totally good, succumbs? Like, but you haven't established him as that.
He's not evil. It's like, yeah, you can say that he's super careless, like the Sokovia Accords. Like, we're not, like, Thunderbolt Ross isn't going, you guys are evil. He's going, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
This needs to be controlled.
They don't just come, Iron Man's not just like, I disagree, so I'm going to murder Captain America. And Captain America's like, that's what I'm going to do to you too.
Yeah, you're just like, you're just being a little reckless, so we need to actually get this under control. And that's why, it's just
plot without script. Like, your plot's not terrible. You just needed a screenwriter that was going to explain why that works in the story.
Beginning of that movie is great. I mean, I think that's why he was the biggest head fake for you and me, because we defended Man of Steel for like 3 years and going, no,
this is going to turn to something.
And the movie starts in the perfect way. I was in the theater. I was like, oh my God, they're doing it. And it's Bruce Wayne's going into the wreckage. As you see that happen, it's like, this is what we talked about. There's consequences. This is how you set it up. And
then immediately downhill from there.
Then
that movie. You watch that movie on mute. It's amazing. You can make music videos out of that movie all day long.
Yeah, that's what a lot. So that's why the Snyder Cut will be fun to watch, because it's like I've already let go. Superman's gonna be I
don't have an emotional need to be filled in this. If it were actually good, that would be a bonus. But just to see what he wants to do, just to see a different version of the movie, just from a perspective of filmmaking.
I already thought it was peaceful. The Justice League is it's a random movie. I liked it at the end. I walked out of that theater with a better feeling than BVS, though, because Superman has 3 funny lines at the end, and I liked it.
And they tried to keep it light. It was more fun to watch in the movie theater. It doesn't hold up because it's not good, but it was a more fun theatrical experience.
The only taste of Cavill Superman we've gotten that is that tone, though, where he comes in.
And it may be the only one we ever get.
He's like, this guy's still bothering you? And he comes back in, he punches him, and then he's like, they cut to that joke. I mean, this is all Joss Whedon stuff. That's what's not going to be in it. I mean, he's like carrying the building.
Everyone's going to be super serious about everything all the time.
Like, and it's like, and that's what it's too. It's like, they didn't even really talk about that in BVS, but then watching that trailer, it's like, oh, that's what happens. So when he's dying, Superman's scream is what brings these people here too. I'm like, oh my God, more stuff is his fault. I was like, everything is like, you guys hate Superman so much that we can't stand it. It's like, and that's why just that, watching the moments of the first, again, I'm really looking forward to watching. I'll watch all 4 hours that Friday night it comes out. But watching the trailer, and it's just like, the God is dead, and it's all this stuff. And then the first moment of that show goes, thanks, my mom made the suit. And he just flies off like, that's what I want. I don't want
Superman.
I don't want to have,
it's such a small ask to want Superman to give a shit.
It's like
to be excited for that. Like, to have that bring tears to your eyes. So I was like, there he is.
It's like he liked his mom. That's what I was doing. Like, just it wasn't even when she died. It's when they're just having that conversation. I started tearing up. I'm like, his mom loves him. This is like, it's like this is, and then like because they're getting what they even in the second episode they're doing just enough. It's like because you don't want Superman action all the time. You want like about 10% in there, and you're fine.
You can't afford it on a CW budget.
When the kids fall and he comes in there and just puts and goes wow, and he just throws the thing. You're like, that's what you want. You want a subtle thing every now and then. Or when he's in this episode and he's fixing the roof, but he's like flying up and down. You're like, that's all I need, actually. That's all I want. I just want to see that. And I'll be fine. It's like, it's not hard. Now,
before Man of Steel, we had this feeling, because like, especially Superman Returns did this, where you just didn't feel like Superman was very challenged because Lex Luthor wasn't that smart, but he still outsmarted Superman. And you were like, I think Superman needs something to punch in the next movie. So when they brought in Snyder, he's like, yeah, Superman definitely needs somebody he can beat up. You're like, I think this guy's got the right idea. Right. But then you realize that was the beginning and end of the vision.
Right.
Like, Superman's just going to punch things really hard. Like, well, that's not all I want to see Superman do.
It's not all I want to see either, but they do it and Man of Steel did it the right way too. Because the thing about Superman, and they do it on this show too, because he does it against Luthor. So Superman, again, maybe this is my interpretation. It's not my interpretation because this is what he does in the movies too, even in the crappy fourth movie, Superman movie. The same way Hulk is, his anger can be infinitely strong. Superman's sort of like that too. He can get stronger, but it's like his will. Like the more he like, but it's not like his will, like this is dumb, but it's more like this is what it's just Captain America sort of does it too. Like he gets freakish. He's holding Thanos' hand back. They do it with him too, where he's like, Thanos looks at him like, Jesus, dude. And then he just pops him on that. But he's like,
well, it's just like we were saying, by the end, he can pick up Mjolnir, when he's
heroism.
In the right mood. Yeah, that's the worthiness.
Like, the better you become, the better person, the better you're trying, the more you dig down, because it's like all a metaphor. This stuff isn't real. And that's why it's so funny watching this in a relationship and a marriage with kids. Like, it's like a modern day. This is how it's like it's about work-life balance. I mean, that's the thing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah.
Which is what the Superman story really is, because like we said, without that balance, he doesn't know what he's fighting for. Like
Right.
the reason Superman's human relationships are what taught him to be a decent person.
Right.
And even I mean, Jor-El is a pretty nice guy in the Zack Snyder movie, but most of the time,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
we said, like Jor-El's just some kind of AI that he has to talk to. He doesn't get a sense of humanity from his Kryptonian side. He gets a sense of humanity from his human side, from his human parents. And it's the relationships that he forms with human beings that make him a good and decent person. So you have to have that. So that balance between him having personal relationships with human beings and his responsibility with saving the world, they cannot be disconnected from each other. They're inseparable. They're absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and the way they present it, that's why hopefully this Jor-El is not just a mess, because that's always a big part of it too. That's why that's why the Man of Steel trailer is amazing, because it just played that dialogue. You know, it's like,
yeah, it sounds awesome.
They'll follow you into the sun. You know, you have to be an example for it. Like that stuff is great. That stuff is great. So I like it. It provides something that's just much more interesting than, I mean. It's the reason it works, and it's like it's not a boring story. It's just why Captain America works, because we all like are the hero of our own story, and it's like, and that's what everybody struggles with. Hopefully, if you're struggling with like how to be a better person, or what are you doing that's wrong, or what is it like, and it's like how that, and then the way you make that interesting is like the Captain America is like, but what happens when you live in this this world? What happens when things are like? What are those compromises that you won't make? But how, living with it, like all that stuff is what is interesting. He's like that. It's a quintessential. Like, there's a reason why Captain America is the backbone of all those 22 movies there too. Tony Stark is there too. He's like the id. It's like the id and the ego kind of thing going on. But he's another point of that. He's like a more modern kind of take on that. But it's a different.
Yeah. Well,
thing.
he's not nihilistic, but he is the modern take on that. It's like, well, we have to make hard decisions and we have to do these things. And then Steve Rogers is always like, but there's lines we should never cross. Right. Because who are we to make those decisions? And because Tony is like, but lives would be lost because we don't. And I'm like, well, then they are. But there's and
there's like integrity versus like ingenuity. And it's like, but they go to the extremes of that. It's like the line in Avengers. He's like, you wouldn't fall on a wire. He's like, I think I just cut the wire. He's like, yeah, you would. It's like, that's easy. Like Captain America's not talking about winning. He's talking about integrity. He's like,
well, also he's like, you get the smart ass answer to everything, but the metaphor I'm talking about is sacrifice. Like, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you don't have a cut the wire solution. Sometimes you just have to jump on a hand grenade to save the platoon, that's what you do.
That's why it's beautiful by the end. That's what he does.
That's what he does. Yeah. He learns that lesson.
But also, they're the kind of two sides of the work-life balance. Tony's the one that's like, is the one that shows like, you can't just do this. You have to have a life. You have to have a family. Like, you can't just be, and that's why he's like, that life Tony is always talking about. I thought I'd get my own, that's why they switch. That's like, they both learn a lesson from each other. And that's what it's like, oh yeah. But those are the both sides of it. That's why, but Superman is sort of that in the main character, that he can accompany all that stuff. So
yeah. It's a wasted opportunity that they couldn't bring a Batman in to be a foil in the way that Iron Man was for Captain America, because that relationship is there. That same conflict and argument, that same debate over how to react to things.
It's so weird that you'd make Ben Affleck such a moody. Like, he's so much better being glib. You know what I mean? Like, he's such a, like, that's his thing, in a movie. Like,
they're so invested in being badass. Like, he can't crack jokes because he's such a badass. And Ben Affleck looks like a badass. Like, the thing is, if you're going to have him work out that much, you can have him crack a joke, because you don't have to act badass when you look like that.
Yeah, or if you're going to go
a badass
to it, and then it's like that crazy accountant movie is a better Batman movie, though.
It's a good movie. He's great in that movie. When we saw that movie, we were like, he's perfect for Batman.
That's a Batman movie.
And he was good as Batman. He just didn't get anything to do with the role.
He did.
That's wasted opportunities all around on that.
That is interesting. That will be interesting to see, because that's a part where the movie could really structurally be different, because I feel that Joss Whedon had a lot of, we're in this transport going to this place talking.
Mm-hmm. So much of it, they had to just pick up an exposition against
I wonder what that last act of that last, 2/3 of that movie is, because that's basically what it was in the other one.
Yeah, maybe it won't just center on us like chasing after the mother boxes,
right,
in different locales. Well, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to enjoy that.
The Joss Whedon one's not good. He didn't do, like, I will give Joss Whedon for those Superman lines at the end, which I loved, and I'm sure they're not going to be in this one.
I'll give him points for trying.
Yeah,
like Wonder Woman 84. I'll give you points for trying. I see where you're going with this.
Right, he shouldn't have done the flash falling to boobs just like Hulk and Scarlet.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of like.
You're also a creepazoid too, Joshua.
There's lots of ways that you don't notice something in a person's work until you find out something about them in real life, and then you can't not notice it in the work. You're like, but also, man, this is super cringy bad now, Josh.
Like, yeah, and also, but in that case, there's the writing that can still be celebrated. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff he's really good at.
And there's stuff and things and experiences like, so I don't condone bad behavior in any case.
No, if he's problematic, you can find someone else who can write well, but he can write well.
Yeah, and I have always enjoyed his writing because he does, it has that little bit of, he probably would have written a pretty good Superman movie, I think. But
never can tell. People are weird.
I don't know with JJ. I hope JJ doesn't direct it, though.
So far, he's just producing it, so I don't know. Yeah, I would hope that
the Skywalker movie.
I would think if you're doing Black Superman, I don't think you can get JJ to direct.
That means we have
if you're going to commit.
Jor-El. Idris Elba Jor-El. That'd be great.
There you're talking.
I was like, they don't all have to be black. Like, that's the thing.
They do. Fear of a Black Planet.
Yeah. Well, they don't. But the thing about Kryptonians, they can be all colors. They don't necessarily. That would be a weird thing. It's like, well, we don't actually follow. Like, your parents could be purple, and you could be. That's interesting. But we got to get it. Yeah.
There's a lot of different angles, and you got a good writer on board, so you're off to a good start on that. So I'm excited. I'm excited that they've got a very thoughtful
writer, though. That's what you want. He's actually going to approach it, I think, with a real take on it. Like
to me, if you agree on who the core character is, you can do almost anything with him.
Right.
Like, there's versions of Superman in the multiverse who are black. You could even deviate from the Clark Kent Superman and do a completely different character. I wouldn't.
But you could also do what you could on a larger scale and fit to be a 2 or 3 hour thing, which is, it doesn't have to be it could be about a family and about something happening or something personally. And then he's got to do other stuff. Like, that's what this show, there is a plot, but the show could be about doing other stuff. Like, does there have to be a huge robot that he fights?
I could see an angle where you do like an Eradicator or a Brainiac, or where they're both the same thing. And one thing I like about the idea of the Eradicator as being this pure Kryptonian thing that wants to eradicate all other life that's non-Kryptonian is that could really play into a racially charged version of Superman. If there is like a part that actually wants to cleanse, like to ethnically cleanse the Earth because they're not Kryptonian enough, that would be an interesting sort of play.
Hard to because even the Marvel movies don't do it now. And the only time they did it, finally, was Infinity War and thing again, like to have just a big battle at the end or something, because by Civil War and Doctor Strange, they've gone really clever. Like, we're not going to have the final battle, what you think it is. It's like not even that. It's something else now, because nobody just wants to see them show down. And the only reason it was appropriate in those two, because the world is ending and all these heroes are here now. This is like a franchise thing. It's like,
you could have a thing that Superman can punch, but it doesn't matter, because that's not what makes Superman interesting. That's not the conflict. Is like, oh no, this person punches better than I punch. It's like, that's not an interesting conflict.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying, though. That you make it like The Incredibles, which is about a family or whatever it is.
Yeah, like where he says, "I'm not strong enough." Like, that's a heartbreaking line. That's perfect.
Yeah,
because it's all about his emotional strength.
Yeah, that kid is a byproduct of him ignoring him and then doing stuff, and then he becomes a thing. And they kind of Amy's a threat to whatever world, but it's not really. It's really about them together and how they see each other, and her forgiving him for doing that. Like, it's about. That's what I mean. That's what you need. It's like, hey, I need to go get the thing done so I can get back to the kid's soccer game.
Incredibles is really good at that balance. That's a really good superhero movie. I mean, it's fun and it's sort of almost like a send up of superhero movies, but it's a solid superhero movie.
Not real stuff. It's like Pixar makes movies for adults. So that movie's about like adult.
Yeah.
Like
Pixar is just expert at breaking your heart.
You're like, Jesus, Finding Nemo and all their nightmares. So, yeah, I'm excited. And I'm glad that the Superman, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited for Snyder Cut, but this Superman and Lois, I sort of knew it was coming out, and then I didn't know them that much, so I wasn't that excited. But then I just saw a trailer for it 2 weeks ago, right before this, and I was like, "Wait a second, that looks pretty good." And then I watched this first trailer. I was like, "Now I'm obsessed with this show. How many episodes are there going to be?" I was like,
I was reserved because the Arrowverse is not 100%.
Well, I was reserved too because and I didn't like his costume before, and I was like, "It's gonna be the same costume." I don't like it.
To me, Supergirl sort of petered out for me. I could watch The Flash, but The Flash is pretty driven by its formula, and the stories are ridiculous. The Crisis on Infinite Earths mashup was really badly written. Batwoman, you can't watch at all.
Batwoman, I couldn't get past the first episode of that show.
I've tried in the first season. I tried it in the second season. It didn't get any better or worse. It's just not watchable. But this one so far, they're treating it like Superman. They know we got Superman here. We can't screw this up. Like they're giving it the weight that it needs. Superman is a big deal. Yeah,
like way more money, like double the money of a Flash episode, I think.
Because it should be a bigger draw. Yeah, and it's Superman. It should be a bigger show.
The Chemist with this show, they said the exact same thing. They're like, this is the reason they do that because this show's going to grab a huge amount of people who've never seen the Flash or Arrow or any of those shit. Because people know who Superman is.
Yeah, and sooner or later they can do like crossover stuff, but I bet they won't right away. This seems to be its own universe.
I hope they don't catch that because people were like, wait a sec, isn't John Cryer Lex Luthor? Or isn't? I was like, I hope they don't even mention that and just move forward. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we don't care about any sort of continuity or any sort of I don't care.
We don't know because either this is 20 years in the future of the last season we saw of the Arrowverse, because he was in that Crisis on Infinite Earth and he said Lois is pregnant, and then now those kids are like 16, so it's either 16 years later or possibly a different universe. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Who cares? Like, it's supposed to have fun with character. I mean, we're in a post like that, and we're in a post Spider-Verse thing where it's like they had a Porky Pig Spider-Man like Spider-Ham. Yeah. It didn't matter because the characters work for the stores. Like, who cares about any of this stuff? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I just want this to be good. I don't want Superman to be hitched to those shows. I don't want it to be beholden to that. I want Superman to be good. And if it's good enough, then you can figure out ways to slide that other stuff in.
But the genius is, I don't know if they said this production. I just heard somebody else say this, but I hope they just have this as a guiding star. It's Friday Night Lights and Superman. If they keep that formula going, perfect. That's what you want. That's all small town, that shows a Superman show. Friday Night Lights without being a Superman show. So it's like it's all of the spirit. I mean, a clear eyes, full hearts can't lose. That's a Superman saying. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing. So it's like, yeah, if we can do that, that's the tone of Americana sort of, high school drama. I mean, but they're just having their issues and they're the family. It's like that's.
Yeah. I think it's a cool take, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more of it. I'm really enjoying it. I definitely could use a Superman right now.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see it. If we get a movie Superman on top of this, and then possibly some kind of weird alternate universe where they still have Henry Cavill Superman in some things, do it. I'm for it.
I want him to be Superman again, but I don't really. I like him a lot. He's
I just want him to be good. Yeah, I'd like to see him get a chance. I'm all for the redemption. Like, I hate to see people go out on a sour note like that. I hope they all get their chance to redeem themselves on these characters. Like, Henry Cavill's doing all right because he went into The Witcher, and The Witcher's people really like that. So that might be his redemption. It's like, just leave Superman behind. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, you didn't ruin that. You got nothing. Leave it all on the field. You got nothing to feel bad about.
Yeah, it's like, again, what you said is exactly what I feel about MCU. People go, well, you just like every Marvel movie. It's like, I don't really care. I want to see a good movie. When you go in, it's like, that was great. It's fun. It's like, that's why they're bad, because I don't have some kind of ground-changing expectations. I wasn't expecting that from BVS. I just don't want to be disgusted when I walk out of theater.
Yeah.
That's like what I'm looking for.
Yeah, we didn't even go in with a high expectation because the trailers didn't look that good for BVS either. So I had a managed expectation for that movie too. Like I'm feeling good about this. I still think I still feel like it's going to be good. But I haven't seen anything that really makes me feel like this is going to be a great movie.
Well, that's why I'm excited about the Snyder Cut in a way, because it's like no matter what happens, like as just a like anthropological thing, just to see it, like this is worth it.
We never get to do this.
I was like, and 4 hours to me, that makes me want to watch it more. I was like, I want to see 4 hours of.
I've never heard of anything like this.
This
single sitting 4-hour movie that is a remake of another movie that just came out,
and it has no footage from that movie. That's the thing.
I can't wait to see what you guys do. This is nuts.
Silly, which is totally silly. This is like, I don't have a problem with him. I'm trying to just be neutral with him. I don't normally have a problem with him. One thing I think is goofy as hell is that he said he's never seen that cut of the movie. I'm like, that's a kind of dumb. I'd watch it. Why can't you keep watching it? You know what I mean? Like, hey, that was a bad mistake.
I guess I don't want to call it vanity, but I guess it does play to that because
it's just like, get over it. It's like, just watch the damn movie. It's like, I'd
be desperately curious to see. Yeah.
That's like when people go, I never, those actors, when it's like, I don't ever watch my movie I'm in. I was like, just watch the movie. It's like you walk out of the premiere. I was like, just watch it. Stop being weird. It's like 2 hours of your life. Just watch it.
Well, that's the funniest thing. Some actors are like really self-conscious. They can't stand to see themselves in a movie. I think that's really interesting to me.
I don't know how you not be like, how do you have feedback though? You know what I mean? They're just literally going and just enjoying.
I guess they watch dailies and stuff. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they do watch like the early stuff.
Plays, because like everything we've always done, from podcast and music to anything, you go, let me listen to that. You're like, all right.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. I watch every show we put out.
Yeah, editing it. I'm like, I should stop doing that. It's really annoying. It's like that's how you get better, doing everything. Like, so I'm excited. I'm Superman this year. Superman, surprisingly enough, and didn't even know it was going to be.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I don't get my hopes up over this movie Superman because they're really good at cooking up these projects and then they just die. But hopefully, they seem to be investing a lot in JJ Abrams' company, revitalizing these different properties. So we'll see.
JJ Abrams. I have to bring this up real quick before we get off. I don't know, just on YouTube, you just have a free hour and you start going down and like, the honest trailer. Everybody's seen honest trailers, but I just haven't watched some in a while. You're just like, let me catch up, let's see what the new ones. And I watched the Rise of Skywalker one, and their thing is great. They have really great points in it. Those guys are actually pretty smart. They're not even just being crabby about it. They're just going, it's like if anything could unite people who hated The Last Jedi and people who love The Last Jedi, it's to hate this movie. That's totally true. That's what brought Brooks and all of us back together again. Where we're like,
it just ended the debate. Like, guys, it's pointless to debate about The Last Jedi.
Made both of them go, Last Jedi might not be that bad. I was like, see, this is weird. The world's turning upside down now. But they were just showing that, they're talking about stuff and it's being funny. But then I saw it twice in the theater because I saw it in the weird theme park ride. And my biggest there's, what all the plots, movie, whatever, points of that movie were bad. The biggest, just unforgivable thing to me is that damn knife. That knife is so stupid. And I even forgot this. They're showing the clips of it because the knife is dumb because it shows a thing that's in the water and it's like, why is this even there? What does it even matter? Well, you're showing like, where would he have hidden it? Maybe in his office. That's where it is. You guys search the whole galaxy. It's in his office right off the throne room. Okay. I would look there first. Maybe. But I forgot how they find it. They find it in that ship that's buried and they just kick it. It's just in the sand off to the side. It's not even in a thing.
Yeah.
Or somewhere they show a foot going, what's this? And it's just in the sand randomly. Like they could have been exploring that ship and never found that dumb knife. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, I can't watch that movie again. So
yeah, I'm content to just leave it. Like, in another 20 years, that movie could be on and I wouldn't notice. Like, so.
I need to get a replica of that knife just to have as a
that would be hilarious to have on your desk.
I'm gonna go look for that now.
Just for people to see that, like,
It's like, what is this? It's like, I don't know. Just again. Also, I think
it's a path dagger for a wayfinder.
Also, you get older too. What's great about being older is that I don't care. Even that, I don't like that movie, but I don't care.
That is one thing, and there are people our age that don't pick up on this. So I'm glad that we are the kind of older that just mellows to things, because it is like, look, guys, it seems important. Then about 10 years go by, and some other thing is going on, and now, like, you'll be like, BVS is horrible. It's like, in like 10 years, there'll be at least 10 movies to talk about besides this one, of varying degrees. Yeah. So, like, it's not worth getting worked up about.
We bring it up all the time and talk about this movie, but we're always talking about it as to like what makes a good story, or why this one's interesting, or why that wasn't interesting.
Yeah, I'm not emotional anymore.
I just said I want to see this thing. I'm not saying you should fire Zack Snyder and have him make 8 more movies. They're interesting as hell.
Yeah, sure. If this movie is interesting and people really like it, let him make a Justice League 2 4 hours long.
We've entered a new territory. We forget about that. Even from when they made Man of Steel, there were more stakes riding on that stuff. For like, this is Superman's chance, so I don't want them to mess this up. And so it's sort of disappointing. Nowadays, both with that and with Star Wars, it's like, well, just watch the other 4 shows that are coming out this year. Who cares?
The thing will be erased. Like, you don't have to remove it from canon. It will be erased by the next new thing.
Has the best Superman in 30 years right now. And it's not even like a mind-blowingly great. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's like... So it's like anything's possible. I didn't even know that show was going to come on until like a month ago. So it's like, oh, cool, it's fun. And so it's like, who cares? There's going to be another show or another.
That's definitely what they should do. Like, they should definitely have TV versions. This is where they've messed up forever.
Batman.
Like, if you should have a Batman TV show, because Batman would make a perfect TV show. Because Batman, every TV show is about some weirdo who helps the police solve murder mysteries.
Yes,
that's every show. And Batman fits that mold. Exactly. Yeah. He's a billionaire dressed like a bat who helps the police solve murder mysteries. It's there. It's a TV formula. And you never make a TV show about it. Like, well, what about Batwoman? Or what about this is the city of Batman, but Batman's not in it? Or Batman as a kid.
The city, and there's a bomb hidden in the winter, and they live for months. And you're like, why? Just have them solve crimes. Like,
please have him help the police solve murder mysteries week for week.
Don't you just watch that in Dark Knight? Again, not to harp on this, Dark Knight Rises. It gets to the point, is like, well, he's just been quit for 8 years. Like, why? My immediate reaction is like, that's not fun. I was like, why is he done? That's like, you just want to see him be Batman. That's all it is. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't need the definitive Batman story. That's why I like this Pattinson Batman. It looks like it's just going to be a Batman story. Like, I don't need the definitive one. I just need a solid Batman story.
Yeah, just be fun. And it doesn't need to be the whole city's being, there's a revolution being taken over. It's like, no.
I'm starting to hate Batman because all of his stories are so overwrought. Just fucking do a Batman story, man.
Do what Dexter did. Like, Dexter's a Batman story, but instead of him going on killing people, he goes, because Dexter, he finds a victim, he investigates, right? And then by the end of the episode...
Yeah. It's a total Batman formula, except he like ritually murders him at the end.
At the end, he doesn't murder him; he just turns him into jail or whatever. Like that.
You could have gotten that dude to do Batman.
Yeah, so you could say, "Oh, here's a case. The whole episode I'm following, and I'm dealing with other stuff as Bruce Wayne, also as Batman. That's my dark passenger. It's the exact same thing." Yeah.
Even that internal monologue, would have worked.
Yeah. Batman's a noir story. Yeah, absolutely. Just have him have a voiceover the entire time. Let's do that.
You wouldn't have to figure, well, how do we have a weirdo destroy the city? It's like, don't. That's really not what Batman should be good at stopping. He's like, fights psychopaths and puts them back in jail.
Right.
That's what he does.
It also sort of worked as a period piece, too. If you think about it, kind of like Watchmen flashbacks, like did it some other time period.
The thing that made the Tim Burton Batman so much fun is he deliberately shot it to be sort of timeless. Like, he created this noir kind of world so that you couldn't quite tell what time period it was supposed to be.
True.
Like, the cars looked old, the city looked old, everyone was wearing fedora hats and long coats. It was very, very stripped down.
Yeah, I mean, but you could go just a total like Sin City version of that, where like Sin City is just some noir city. I mean, it's like crazy and weird, but it's like that movie was shot on a green screen. I was like, don't tell me you can't shoot a Batman movie show like that and just have like, who cares where it is? It's like,
yeah, would have been fun. Still could do. I think they've got the right idea because when they don't have to invest in one distinct version of this stuff, they have room to explore. Like now they're like, why don't we just have like 3 Superman things going on? Like, yes, that way you don't have to keep changing directions every time something doesn't work.
Well, now that they have for an HBO Max, it seems like for all this stuff from Warner Brothers, so I hope they just do stuff now. Now, if they just want to make content, it's like that's why I told you I watched all the Swamp Thing and like just have those shows. That shit was better than.
Apparently, they're rebooting Swamp Thing for HBO Max.
I thought that was fun. I watched that.
It was a decent show. I don't mind if they reboot it, but they had it pretty much right in that would have been fine.
Yeah, but that was fun because it was so low stakes, though, too. It was like very.
Well, Swamp Thing should be a weird thing of the week. Like Swamp Thing it plays into a whole different kind of genre show. It's like, and this is what the old Swamp Thing comics used to be. Some weird thing would pop up, and Swamp Thing would either run into it or have to fight it, and that was everything.
Yeah, I like that show because you probably like it too because it feels like Savannah. That show too. It's like felt like this. Yeah. It felt like, oh yeah, this feels like. It's like it's like a superhero show in Savannah, basically. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't just come shoot in Savannah.
They were like
in Captain Marvel, they were in Louisiana. I was like, I bet that's Savannah, but it turned out they really did shoot in Louisiana. But I was like, why did they bother? We got hanging moss here. You could have just shot it right here.
Well, that WandaVision that was shot up here too. I don't know.
They shoot everything in Georgia. Yeah. That's why I was surprised they really went to Louisiana for the Louisiana shots. Like,
the only reason I know about they had pictures of because they shut down my sister sent it. She lives up near there. Canton. We had Jeremy Renner and what's her name, Haley Steinfeld, and them on Canton, like downtown Canton. I was like, that's funny. So it'll be fun.
Well, that's fun. Yeah, that'll be fun to see. I'm enjoying those shows a lot.
The Outsider was the only show that went to the trouble of making it. They called it Cherokee because they called it Cherokee City, and what was Atlanta? They didn't say Atlanta. It was called Capital City. I was like, just call it Atlanta. Does he have like another licensing thing with the state or something? You shot it here in Cherokee County, but you got logos made for Cherokee City.
I guess they were just worried about pissing off people.
That a demon's living among them and stealing their children or whatever.
Well, there's fairly incompetent law enforcement going on in that show.
Oh yeah, that's true. I want another thing like that. That was juicy. That was fun.
That was a good show. Supposed to make another season of that, I think.
Really?
I thought so.
Same story? Like lying?
I don't know. Maybe her, the detective, on a different weird case. I could see that.
Yeah.
I like Ben Mendelsohn a lot, though, so I'd miss him. But she's good. I wouldn't mind seeing her.
Yeah, he's funny in a bunch of. I mean, not funny. He's fun in a bunch of other. He's such a good bad guy for that stuff.
Yeah, he's really good. We rewatched Captain Marvel the other day, and we find him very charming.
Yeah, Marvel. Yeah, that's the thing. They're stretching with DC. They can do whatever too, but Marvel, like, not even stretching. You start thinking how they could have 8 movies a year and 8 shows a year because they're just getting into like secret
stuff. That's why I like the TV thing. They can put more stuff out for TV.
But lower stakes. And they also do some smart things because like the Skrulls aren't they bad guys in the comics and now they're not. So it's like. The secret invasion thing could be a thing that is more for like the better, not like a evil plot or something, right?
Yeah, we don't know.
But that's going to be a show too, right? And She-Hulk going to be a show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that could just be basically like Ally McBeal with Hulk in it. She-Hulk.
Yeah, that I would love.
It's like a dramedy.
Don't even have her. Why have an origin? We know where Hulk's come from. Just open with her as a lawyer.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see.
Yeah,
and then he shows up, and he's her cousin. Like, oh, I see. I don't know why that makes sense, but sure.
That's why you have to listen to stuff. It's Kevin Feige, and the thing is, like, he's like, you got to test these movies all the time. They really test the movies and then do the reshoots. He's like, yeah, we do reshoot. We plan a bunch of reshoots, and we don't know we're going to shoot because we know we're going to test it and
just leave the windows open. Yeah,
you're like such craftsmen. He's like, it sucks to be in there, and you have to hear individual opinions about people who don't never made a movie in their life, and they say I thought that. He's like, but you got to listen to all of it because you'll spot problems or whatever. You know, you'll spot these things coming in. But they really do.
For people who watch movies, they're not watching it from the perspective of craftsmanship. It's just about how they follow the story,
and they follow it in that
perspective.
But it's also you can't listen to individual opinions. You have to hear almost an aggregate of opinions, and because I'm sure the wildest opinions on in games, like I just don't. The Hulk, smart. I just don't understand that.
Well,
like,
we were talking to Greg and Brooks the other day, and they're like, "I don't understand how the time travel works." And we're like, "What do you mean?"
They explain it,
Like,
and they
seriously? Like, there's like a whole scene. Like, I don't understand how if they go back in time and change time, how time's not changed. Like, but they covered that. Like, I feel like we're gonna have to do a show where we bring out a chalkboard and like we're gonna have to go over this again. I thought we all knew this.
A couple of videos I was gonna send them. I was like, I don't feel like doing this because there's like 5-minute YouTube videos that just explain what's happening.
I don't want to make this my problem.
But then I thought better because like that goes against the whole point. Because I think what Marvel's good at, it's like it's just got to be good enough. Just move on. Like, because there's still a lot of crazy things with Captain America and the timeline with Peggy, and then not closing like Loki.
Yeah,
it's like
some of the bits don't all completely make sense, but the general concept is laid out.
Like, I will defend these movies. I will say they're cinema. I will say they have just as good character as The Godfather. You know, like Scorsese like wants to like. But then I will also say when people go to that, it's like it's a comic book movie, man. What do you mean? Who cares?
Yeah. So
how could he have punched that guy? But the car there was obviously way more than what he. It's like the comic.
You want to see this or not?
It's like, what do we care? I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, who cares? It works. They're funny. It's fun.
Well, cool. Well, good. I'm looking forward to more of this stuff. That'll be fun. And we'll come back and talk about some. I don't know what we'll talk about next. We're supposed to get.
We'll probably do it. We need to do
a. Probably talk some more WandaVision for one thing.
We need to do WandaVision, but we need to do a Snyder cut.
Oh, we definitely will do that. I'm actually mad that they're not doing an episodic because that would have been a fun week for week to tear into. Now I was telling Megan what we should do is we should record a 4-hour-long reaction video and release it as one video and just say, this is our response.
Hold on. I don't think we should release it with one video, but I am totally down for getting together and just watching it on the Friday night, just getting on syncing it. Can you sync the HBO thing?
Oh, I don't know.
Or just getting on a video chat and it's going, let's screw it. Let's all play.
Or we could. Or if nothing else, like not necessarily the first time we see it, but we could coordinate a watch along where we kind of just break it down.
Yeah.
While we're doing it, I could see that might be fun.
That'd be fun. I totally agree. That would be a fun.
Yeah, I might need one cold view just to see.
It might be
what my initial reaction.
Yeah, maybe not commit to a 4-hour reaction, but that's a long time because you can't get up and it's hard to coordinate. Yeah. I do want to get back and doing reactions though, but
maybe do it like an hour at a time where we don't that like a watch along where we put that in the screen next to us, but at least where we can sort of respond to it as the points are brought up in the thing. It depends. We might watch it on Friday and be like, meh, mediocre, not worth
kind of feel like that's why I think it might be if I had to bet, like I'm not saying it's gonna be bad. If it goes bad, it's gonna be the boring side of bad and not.
Yeah, like I could see that happening. We're like, oh, I kind of wanted him to just go nuts with it.
It's gonna be like Sucker Punch, that movie he did. Remember, it's like there's no story and it's all just like music.
Yeah,
like, okay.
Not worth being upset about either. It's just
I mean, it looks pretty, but it's like it's a lot of slow motion, speed rain. Yeah. He's gonna have
a lot of short skirts, slow motion.
It's like, yeah, I get it.
And horrific implications of sexual assault. You know, the huge.
That's what they're like. Well, Cyborg has so much more. I was like, well, in the trailer, I saw he shows his dad dying, and then shows his football.
And he shows him playing football. That's not a lot more.
Well, I
knew he was a football
player. But I've also seen it now in this 3-minute trailer. So
yeah,
you need to see more of that now. Like the whole game? Are you gonna?
It plays the whole game.
It's like
in the 4-hour cut.
The whole subplot of this. Did the rest of it's like Sam. I don't mean to be dismissive.
It'll be fun.
Those guys. Hey, I'm rooting for those guys. I hope those guys Snyder cut. Even though there's some of them are assholes.
No one wants to see a bad movie.
I'm rooting for them.
We'd rather it be shocked, but be nice kind of shocked for this to be an amazing movie.
Yeah,
it's just
promoting
stacked against them
because they get so binary. It's like, well, Josh Whedon did this. Like, why don't you could let that one go and just want this one to be good too? Who cares? Just
whatever. Maybe you could like both versions. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. So I'm excited. So we'll reconvene.
Cool. Good. So yeah, we'll have this up on tv@mydinner.com so you can listen to other episodes, but TV at My Dinner also links out to more of our video episodes, which this will be. But I'll get the audio of it out too. I know I got the space for it. But we'll be doing some more Marvel Age Star Wars soon too. I know Brooks has been hitting me up for that, so I'll try to get back on that as well, so we can get some more of those cranked out. And then we're on Facebook as TV at My Dinner, so check that out. And Twitter, although I'm never on it, but it is there.
Yeah, I have Twitter. I never do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say who does. I don't know what the kids do. We get an Instagram.
Yeah.
But who wants to see me just taking pictures of myself all the time?
You don't
We're already doing that here.
Yeah. We just talked to you for 2 hours. You don't need to share with you any more stuff.
Yeah. You could also see me on my OnlyFans. It's like,
well, that's making money there. That's
yeah. Yeah. Someone's got to pay those bills.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that worked, do you think that would work?
Yeah. Could I do that?
Yeah. No shame in this game. All right, yeah, but keep an eye out for that stuff, and we will definitely be back soon with a lot more content. Until then, my name is Sean.
My name's Andrew.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.